Welcome everybody back to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. It is Smackdown review time. Yes, Smackdown. They recorded a double taping last Friday ahead of Night of Champions in Saudi Arabia. Obviously, the roster's got to get over there for their premium live event on Saturday. So they recorded 2 episodes on Friday. We're only going to be talking about the episode that aired, not the spoilers of the show coming up this week on Friday. So SmackDown kicked off with a segment involving Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, Kevin Owens, and Sami Zayn. Now, the point of this, Roman's coming out, the crowd are booing him. He's told him to acknowledge him, basically, as he always does. Basically, they saw what happened on Raw with Paul Heyman making arrangements to have Imperium assist with the Sami and Kevin Owens tag team match against Judgment Day. But then Roman said, this is perfect. The fans seem excited. This was his plan all along. He wanted to bring the champions out here. So now it's time for the champions to acknowledge Roman Reigns. Now, the champions don't exactly do that. Kevin Owens goes straight into fight, and so does Solo, as he would. Reigns just basically mocks Kevin Owens at this point. He's also said that he's had a special career with the highs and lows, but the one regret, it was wasting his time on Sami Zayn over the last year. But Sami counteracts and says the one thing that he regrets is not hitting Roman with the steel chair at the Royal Rumble earlier. Sami does remind Roman Reigns of the Elimination Chamber. And he even said that he didn't think they'll ever be in the ring together again. But here they are, and Sami for once has nothing to say apart from this. He goes, how Reigns wants their titles, but it won't happen. And why? Because you're not as good as us, i.e. Kevin and Sami, and also you're not as good as the Usos. Roman Reigns goes on about, he took it easy on Sami, but as he's saying that, all of a sudden the Usos start laying out Kevin and Sami. They pull them out of the ring and start to beat them up. And they look in the ring, they're fired up, they're shaking, each other's hands. They turn around to look for Roman Reigns and his approval, and said he didn't tell him to come out here. He had one plan and they ruined it. And as Roman Reigns turns around, he bumps into Solo, who stares a hole right through Reigns, who looks a little bit scared, as they say. But he's angry and he marches up the ramp and they go back. And following the SmackDown commercial, they're back in the Bloodline locker room. Jey Uso is apologizing to Roman, but Roman's not having any of it. He wanted to say to Sami, because given the fall of the year of his life, he didn't want the Usos to do what they wanted to do and not what has kept him on top of the mountain. Reigns says that he's the guy, makes the choices, and tells the Usos to get out. And Solo and Paul Heyman are in the back of the room at this point. That's the opening segment or so. We then get to the first match of the night, which is, yes, boy, Pretty Deadly against the Brawling Brutes of Ridge Holland and Sheamus. And it was actually a really good tag team match, a good opener of a tag team match anyway. Kit Wilson, Elton Prince, they cut to a vignette and they're wearing chef clothing. And they have the recipe for greatness all figured out. It was 2 tablespoons of charisma, 2 tablespoons of tag team originality, a dash of good looks, and most importantly, the most important ingredients, 1 Kit Wilson and 1 Elton Prince. And they come out to the ring. And Sheamus is on commentary, and that's actually pretty good to have Shamo on commentary. He was actually quite funny on commentary during this match. As I said, the match was actually really good. I thought it went... It could have gone either way. I had a feeling that Pretty Deadly would win because it was their SmackDown debut match, more so than anything else. And Butch, there was a good couple of bits in there from Ridge Holland when he showed his strength. That Pete Dunne, or Butch, as he normally does, goes after the body, goes after the fingers, as he does. But at the end, they started to deliver 12 beats of the Bowery. The referee is briefly distracted, which allows Prince to unhook himself, and they then hit spilt milk on Ridge Holland. Prince runs back and ties his arms back in the ropes, and Wilson rolls Holland up for the win, and they celebrate as they do up the ramp. As I said, it was a good opener. It kind of, went the way that we should have gone. the new boys getting the victories. Obviously, Kevin and Sami are tag champions currently, and we have to wonder what would happen to the tag team titles should Roman and Solo win them, because obviously Roman's not going to be there. So it does leave that tag team title situation a little bit bleak if Roman and Solo win. I don't think they will, but and hopefully then Kevin and Sami can move on to another feud, and perhaps the Brawling Brutes or Pretty Deadly, or even the Judgment Day, who have won matches quite a lot recently. They could be in the mix, which would be good. But yeah, Pretty Deadly first win on SmackDown, which was good to see. They do have a really nice video package about superstar Billy Graham. We know passed away last week, and we've sent up, well, obviously on the show last week, we passed on our condolences to friends and family and peers of Billy Graham. Back to the action, and it was Asuka's SmackDown return against Zelina Vega. Now, this match, for me, it was pretty quick. It didn't go as long as I thought it would do. Zelina Vega is really, for me, is really improving. I'm not saying by any stretch of the imagination that she's world championship material, but she's really showing a bit more about herself. And I think aligning with the LWO, aligning with obviously the Legado Fantasma initially, Zelina Vega is starting to come out of her own a little bit. She's more involved, I think, now in getting matches, which is really important, because when you've got someone like Zelina who is talented and can go, the more matches you have, the more that you see her, the more that you can understand that she is actually a lot better than perhaps what we've seen in the past. This match in particular was pretty much Asuka returning and, well, say return match, and pretty much she got her with the Asuka lock in the middle of the ring, and that's what happened. She put in the Asuka lock, the submission victory. She keeps the hold on longer than the after the bell, which let Bianca Belair run out. And again, she gives a bit more of a mist at Bianca. Maybe they should give Zelina the mist, as Malachi Black has that in AEW. But she splits Black Mist and Bianca. It doesn't really get her a lot. I think it gets her more around the cheek area than the eyes, like it normally does. And Asuka just runs away and laughs in her really mystical, creepy way, and Bianca's not looking too impressed, shall we say. But that sets up, obviously, their match at Night of Champions in a couple of weeks, which is going to be really good. I think that match, again, the WrestleMania match, was outstanding. Do I see Bianca dropping? Not sure. I'm really not sure, to be honest. It's one of those matches that can, even at WrestleMania, it could go either way. There is potential heel turn for Bianca in the works as we lead up to SummerSlam, or maybe even at SummerSlam. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. And that's one of the matches I'm looking forward to at Night of Champions, more so because I don't really know if Bianca's going to come out on top of that one and retain. So it'll be a really good match as well. The next bit was the SmackDown debut of the Grayson Waller Effect. So that was the guest was AJ Styles, and Grayson Waller welcomes him very warmly. They recalls their interaction in NXT. They had a brief little feud on NXT. I think it may have been last year or the year before. Says that AJ's a first ballot Hall of Famer, which he is. Asks him what it would mean to win the title. Talks about that he's been out of action for a few months, which is the longest time he's been out in his career. And Styles basically said all he could think about was getting back into the ring. And that when he got cleared, all he did after was train harder than anybody. And he knew there'd be an opportunity, and here it is. He wants this title more than the air that he breathes. Grayson Waller says he's just got goosebumps. AJ basically says that Rollins is off on a movie set, which he is. He's doing Captain America. He's happy for Rollins, but he hopes he's training and getting ready. AJ guarantees that he's ready. And Waller goes on and says he's more excited for the end of the match, when Seth Rollins is announced as the new champion, and AJ and Grayson have a bit of words off mic, and the segment ended. Now, at that point, they go back to the LWO. The LWO in the main event are going against the Usos. So that is, they were just talking about that, and they'll basically say, Ray basically said, you'll find out what happens when you mess with the LWO. The next match is a tag team match between the Street Profits, LA Knight, and LA Knight's partner, Rick Boogs. Wasn't quite sure about this pairing before we started. LA Knight got on the microphone. He wanted everyone to focus. He was focused on winning gold, and that means the undisputed tag team titles are not safe either. He said that when he saw the Profits come to the show talking crap, he knew he could beat them with anybody. And that's what he's going to do tonight. Pick up a win with this man. And out comes Rick Boogs. Now, the match itself was actually quite a decent match. Anyway, it went longer, I think, than expected. Rick Boogs kept saying about he's boogieing out when he was sort of hyping up or hulking up, as you want to call it. Not quite sure about that, to be quite honest with you. But eventually, after a bit of to-ing and throwing, there was a part where Boogs charged at Montez Ford, but he accidentally knocked LA Knight off on the ring apron. Ford runs in and leaps out to take out both opponents. Dawkins hits the Skyfly on Boogs, and then Ford hits that massively great frog splash to win. I just think at the moment with Profits, and I mentioned earlier that Bianca and maybe turning heel, there is this possibility as well at SummerSlam that they're going to do a heel or lead up to SummerSlam or just after SummerSlam. They're going to do a lead out, a heel turn with the Street Profits. And I think that is needed. I think the problem with me is the Street Profits are great. Now, you either do two things here. You split them up and give Montez Ford the opportunity to do what he does best. He's definitely the breakout of the two, but then it kind of leaves Dawkins in a bit of an issue. So the two options that you have is split them up or turn them heel. And it looks as though the WWE are choosing the second option, which is turning them heel, which it might work, especially if you had Bianca and they form like another stable. Stables seem to be the in thing. Even if you look at AEW, it's the Elite, the House of Black. There's a lot of, there's trios, Top Flight and AR Fox. There's a lot of trios going around, and it seems to be the in thing. Even in WWE now, there seems to be more 6 persons than there is tag matches. So they got the Judgment Day, the LWO, the Bloodline, albeit with a few cracks in a minute. But the point is, having the 3 may make it more interesting. And certainly, from a WWE perspective, to turn them lot heel at the same time could form a group. We kept hearing about the reformation of the Hurt Business, which never happened. Maybe they can create their own Hurt Business, new Hurt Business with these guys. Who knows? After the match, anyway, LA Knight helps Rick Boogs back up, but lays him out with the BFT. I think now it's time. I think what they wanted to do was kind of get LA Knight, I don't know, get him ready now for a big push. I think they start like job him out a little bit, make him look desperate, get a tag partner, lose it, turn on your tag partner, and then start that descent up towards potentially winning Money in the Bank. But I think now LA Knight, it's time for him to shine, and I'm hoping that this is now the platform for him to go up the escalator rather than down like he's been going recently. The next bit was Cameron Grimes. Obviously, last week he demolished Corbin in about 5 seconds. He said he would never go on and believe his name would be one of the fastest wins in WWE history. Feels like he's living the dream. He's made a splash last week, but won't stop because he's going to the top, or actually straight to the moon, as he says. Cameron Grimes, for me, I believe from what I'm hearing, he's very high up on the list in WWE. So for people that, they're looking to push into as we go through the year. I like Cameron Grimes. I was a bit unsure about how the character would resonate on the main roster. It was fine on NXT, and he's a great worker. He's obviously bulked up a little bit. He looks a lot more bigger, a lot more, a lot more muscle on him than he did on NXT. So I'm just seeing how that character resonates to the main roster, should it do that. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. The Usos are pacing around backstage for a little bit, and then back from the break, Karrion Kross was backstage with Scarlett. He said his justice is blind, and surely it must be because Kross is the imminent threat to justice. And he had absolutely no idea, do you, Alan? And then when Alan is AJ Styles, and there's a card with AJ Styles, and it says TikTok on it. So that seems to be where they're going next for AJ Styles as we head into Night of Champions. Should be, again, a really good, should be an interesting match between those two. You know, Karrion Kross, AJ. I wouldn't say a contrast of styles to a degree, but I think that's next week. That's going to be. So that'll be a really, really good match, I think, for Karrion Kross. And I keep saying that Karrion Kross is one of those guys that you just need to push. He's so long, you know. We need him to get pushed. He needs to be pushed. It's so difficult at the moment because I feel like there's so much going on after the draft. You're kind of jockeying for position a little bit. Obviously, like we've already mentioned, Smackdown doesn't have a heavyweight champion as such week on week. They have it when Roman's there. Austin Theory's your IC title. He's a heel as well. So I think it's kind of like, I kind of said a couple of weeks ago that I think we was going to get the backlash and then we're going to see the change. I kind of think now it's more, let's get to Night of Champions. Let's get the Raw title done. And then let's start focusing as we head on to one of the biggest pay-per-views of the year, SummerSlam. So that's potentially what they're looking at doing. At the moment, there just seems to be a lot of guys jockeying for position, but no real where to get it, which is a shame at the minute. But hopefully we'll see as we go through Karrion Kross. We'll see how the likes of Karrion Kross, LA Knight, and Cameron Grimes, and even Grayson Waller, who's very, very good as well. So it'll be interesting as we move into SummerSlam where these guys start to go. We then see the Usos. They were pacing, waiting for their match. Sorry, I got confused there. That had already happened. They announced the Brock Lesnar, Cody Rhodes, or the hype for the fight between Brock and Cody, which is going to happen at Night of Champions. The next bit is the NXT Tag Team Champions, Alba Fire and Isla Dawn against Valentina Fox and Yulisa Leon. It literally was a squash match, to be honest. With these two, but Isla Dawn and Alba Fire are two very, very good wrestlers. In terms of the NXT Tag Team Champions, what is actually happening with the NXT Tag Team Champions? Because it seems to be that that's kind of been forgotten. They've got this tournament going on at the moment for the NXT Championship, but the Tag Team Championship is just on SmackDown. It's not being defended. I don't quite get what's happening there. And it's a bit of a strange one, what they're going to do. Are they going to go back down to NXT for a match and drop them? Are they just going to drop them and NXT are going to have new Tag Team Champions? Is the titles going to be defended on SmackDown? It is a weird one, and I hope they get that rectified soon because we do have Tag Team Champions, and I'm just about to get to that right now. Now, Liv Morgan has got a shoulder injury, I believe. So her and Raquel Rodriguez have to relinquish the Tag Team Champions. Now, Raw, after Night of Champions, will have a fatal four-way to crown new champions, and they're going to be either Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler, Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville, Bayley and Io Sky, or Raquel Rodriguez and a partner of her choosing. Then they go back to an interview with Raquel. She's shouting out to Liv, hope she gets better, and we hope Liv gets better as well. But also Bayley and Io Sky show up and say that actually Dakota Kai also suffered an injury. And it's an even worse injury. So Bayley's going to have revenge in mind on Raw in 2 weeks. Now, what we have since found out is that Io Sky, I think, has damaged her ACL, I believe, and that she's going to require 6 to 9 months out. So, again, we wish Dakota all the best in her recovery. A bit of a weird one, that because I didn't see this one coming. I didn't know that that Liv Morgan was injured. I hadn't read anywhere that she had suffered an injury until this bit happened when they had to relinquish the titles. So perhaps what they're going to do is go with who they were going to go with. I believe it was Ronda and Shayna were going to win the titles. So perhaps that was going to happen later down the line. They may need to push that forward to now. So on the Raw after Night of Champions, we'll see who gets it. Who's Raquel's partner going to be? Well, I've heard rumors that it's going to be Shotzi. I don't know if that's true. But It's going to be after Night of Champions on Raw. They're going to have this match, and we'll see who comes out on top. I think my money's on Shayna and Ronda because I believe that was where they was going with it before WrestleMania anyway. So the next bit was Austin Theory, and he was coming out and he said when he came to SmackDown last week. He brags, actually, and he said he expected respect because of all the legends he's bodied. He brings up the tournament match and how he was disrespected by Sheamus and Bobby Lashley. He then goes on to say that they knew he would have went on and won the title in Night of Champions. He rants on about Lashley, then goes on a rant about Sheamus until the Sheamus comes out. And they face off. Sheamus walks over with Mike. Sheamus says he has something to say, and the instantly turns around and levels Fury with the bro kick, and he exits the ring to a pop. Now, that is actually a match that's happening next week on SmackDown. As I say, that match has already been recorded. So Sheamus does take on Fury next week, or this coming Friday on SmackDown. So will Sheamus add the Intercontinental title, another Intercontinental title reign, or will A-Town Down carry on his ascendance up the ladder in WWE, so to speak, after a victory of John Cena at WrestleMania? The Usos are warming up at this point. Paul Heyman walks up and says Roman Reigns forgives them both. They think it means Reigns will be ringside from tonight, but no, Heyman's made an excuse to why Reigns won't be out there. And then he basically says, come on, it's the LWO. You guys got this. And he said, don't make it a prediction. Make it a spoiler. Jay walks off and Jimmy's there on his own. And he sized up Heyman before he walked off. So again, teasing that little bit of tension within the in the ranks of the bloodline. Now, the main event time, it was the LWO versus the Usos. And as you can imagine, the LWO, Santos Escobar and Rey Mysterio versus Jimmy and Jey Uso. This match was the best match on SmackDown. In my opinion, SmackDown wasn't great as a whole. This match was really, really good. To be honest, it's as you would expect it to be. When you've got these four in the ring, they're four very talented guys, two very talented teams. There was a lot going on in this match. There was super kicks, there were 619s. They hit the Superfly splash on Rey Mysterio. He kicked out just in time. They go opposite corners. Just as they go to hit another Superfly, Kevin Owens walks down the ramp. Sorry. And Santos takes advantage of the distraction, knocks Jay off the top rope. Sorry, Sami Zayn comes out from the other side and jumps on the apron to knock Jimmy off, sending him very nicely into the 619 position. Ray hits it, leaps off the apron onto Jay on the floor. Escobar now has a top rope splash. It was kind of like a frog splash to a degree, but more like a sort of flat pancake splash, like a jump up and rather than a frog splash. Everyone's after the match, Kevin, Sammy all smiles. LWO celebrate as a disappointed Uso recover. They go back into Roman's room and they're not happy. Solo gets up to head out, but Reigns stops him. And SmackDown goes off the air with Reigns just shaking his head. Yeah, SmackDown itself was okay. I don't think it was any more or worse than okay. It was what it was. Moving into Night of Champions show on this coming Saturday. We'll see what happens next week. It just kind of felt a bit flat to me. I think, again, my thing now is, and I've already said this before, made it look silly, that I thought after Backlash we would start seeing everything come to light, positions in, jockeying for position, who's going to be, the feuds for who. And it just seems as if they may be waiting for Night of Champions, because then you've kind of got like a 2-month build to SummerSlam. So it does give you those times to get the feuds working and to get them in place and to get who you want where. So that's probably what they're going to do. Anyway, it's been a brief Turnbuckle podcast doing a SmackDown review. Not a lot happened really of note, and it wasn't really much to go into. We move on to Monday Night Raw. This week's guests, we have a plethora of guests this week. I not long finished the AJ Kazana show. Apologies for the audio on that. Obviously, when the guys are traveling, here in their cars, there is bound to be audio problems at that point. So we apologize for that, but it was great to talk to AJ. Hope he had a great 30th birthday and he enjoys Disneyland with his wife. This week, we've got EC3 on Tuesday and Just Incredible, the rescheduled interview with Just Incredible. On Wednesday, we've got British independent talent Millie Mackenzie joining myself and Dynamite Man Dave DMD. Friday, we've got NWA star Jax Dane. Really looking forward to interviewing him. We've been talking about getting him on the show for a while now, so it's good that one's finally come off. Sunday, we're going to be, we've also got, the Dynamite review on Friday as well. So the AEW Dynamite review will be happening on Friday. On Sunday, we have our first ever AEW pay-per-view preview and prediction show. Myself and again, the MD, will be joined by the guys that Honor the Elite on Facebook. We're going to be talking all things Double or Nothing as we head into that pay-per-view. We may also on Sunday do the review of Night of Champions. That'll either be Sunday or Monday. Myself and Andy will be on hand for that. Myself and Dave will be reviewing Double or Nothing on Monday as well. So lots to get on with. We will be doing a Raw review. We will do a Smackdown review as well at some point. There's lots of stuff we're doing here at the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. We thank you all for joining and listening in again. And we'll see you on Tuesday for a double interview. Until then, buckle down, guys, and stay very safe.